on this occasion of your birthday, this lovely lady is not only punctilious, but punctual, but punctual, but punctual, but punctual.
You say you've been hurt, now you're
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai vekayam shechazarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha.
Good Devach, everybody. So I'll tell you, Maisa, there was a big tzaddik from Hornsteipel, the Hornsteipel guy, and so the Maisa goes like this. There was one time where the tzaddik was very, very sick, very ill, and he needed to have a procedure done, some sort of surgery, what doctors would call a minor surgery, or a minor procedure. The problem was that he was of such an age, and his physical, his medical situation was such that anesthesia was not an issue, was not an option. Even local anesthesia was not an option for him. So the doctors don't want to operate on him, obviously, without anesthesia. It's going to be incredibly painful. But his life is in danger without it. So they don't know what to do. So the tzaddik says to him, you know what? It's okay. I'm used to pain. Just do what you have to do. They're saying, but a person can't tolerate this. He says, don't worry about it. I'm used to it. Okay. So the tzaddik sits down, and they begin. First, they take, maybe a metal that they heat up a little bit, put him on him just to see his tolerance. And he doesn't say boo. Mamash doesn't say boo. They're surprised by that. They go with something a little bit more painful. Also, doesn't mention mamish, nothing, until finally they're confident enough to actually go through with the procedure, and they go through the procedure without him mamish saying anything. And the whole time he's just sitting there learning, davening, whatever it is. He's mamish, no krechs, nothing, no moaning, nothing. So after this, the doctors there were not Jewish. They were nispal, shocked by the power of the human being to tolerate such pain. And they said, Rabbi, we don't think you're a person. You must be an angel. And he said, no, I'm not an angel. I just developed a high tolerance for pain. So he asked him, how's it possible? What suffering do you have in your life that you should develop such a tolerance for this? That we should make incisions in you and so on, and you don't even feel it. You don't even bat an eyelash. So he said, let me tell you something. When Jews come to me every single day with their tzaras, and they give me a kvittel, and very often I look at the kvittel, and there's nothing I can do. So what am I going to do? Break their hearts? So I have to control myself. I have to hold in the pain that I'm feeling, and I have to say, Bracha v'atzlach, the Rebbeinu Shem Eibush is a helper. And I have to at least give them some kind words and give them confidence and hope for the future, even though I know there's nothing I can do. And he says, to me, those experiences are much more painful than anything you can do to my body. And I've built up tolerance to be able to hold my pain in. And that's what allows me to hold my pain in right now. That's one of the biggest madrigas of a tzaddik like that, to feel the pain of another yid to such a degree that seeing another yid's tsar and your inability to help them is more painful than the physical pain of being cut and being sliced open. That's a big tzaddik. Hashem should bless us. We shouldn't, God forbid, have any pain at all. But to feel the life of another yid, to be noisei ba'oil, to feel the pain of another yid, to feel the simcha of another yid, to feel another yid like it's mamish ourselves, that's the biggest madreg in the world. Hashem should bless us with such a Jewish heart. We should be zeichet to have a lichtig vach, Mazel de Gevach, Gul de Gevach, V'bias Kol Tzedek Meher V'meinu. Amen.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Ellie. It is Tuesday, Yom Shlishi, the day that Hashem said twice, it is good. The 17th day of May, the 16th day of Iyar, 1 day and a night away from Lag BaOmer. The Torah portion is Behar, HaYom, Yom Shlishi, L'Shabbos, third day counting up towards Shabbos, we'll be learning the third Aliyah. How are you today? I know. So Verizon came yesterday. It's really cool. Verizon came, and we're all caught up. We're all interneted. I know. It's a great thing. It really is. All right. Lots to do today. The movers are coming today. I know. Bringing the storage up from Florida. My friend Mark took this picture in Palm Springs of the lunar eclipse. Remember, they're 3 hours earlier than we are, and so it was only about 7:30 at night when this thing started. You can see it's just starting over there. Yep, you see it? Just starting. I'm going to put my finger back here. There, you see that? Just starting. Very cool, right? I thought you'd like that. All right, let's get started. Let's make a bracha on the tzitzis.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right, and then al divrei Torah. Are you ready?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
All right, fantastic. And now, Hareini Mekabel. Are you ready? Here we go.
הריני מקבל עלי מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right, and now Torah Tziva Lanu.
Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha morasha keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha morasha keilat Yaakov.
All right, and time to give tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box.
Oh,
put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
All right, tzedakah has been given, and now let us say the Shema together.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
All right. Now we can have some coffee. All right, are you ready? Let's get our shahakals together here. If you have something else, here are the brachos right here on the side. Are you ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shahakol nihiyah b'dvarei. There we go. All right. Pineapple today. Just the right amount of everything. All right. And we are going to count Sphira. Here is Cantor Laser Brook. It's coming.
HaYom, HaYom, echad Shlishi meYom, she'arba shavuos, u'shloisho yomim bo'omer. HaYom, 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 bo'omer.
49 days to count the Omer.
All right.
After it
Week
starts,
5, day 3, 31 days, which are 4 weeks and 3 days of the Omer. Tiferes of Hod. Compassion in humility. Examine, is your humility compassionate? Does my humility cause me to be self-contained and antisocial, or does it express itself in empathy for others? Or is my humility balanced and beautiful, or is it awkward? Just as humility brings compassion, compassion can lead one to humility. If you lack humility, try acting compassionately, which can help bring you to humility. All right, your exercise for today: express a humble feeling in an act of compassion. Okay, all right. And now, let's see. Now, Rabbi Sachs. For day 31, to defend a country, you need an army. To defend a civilization, you need schools. You need education as the conversation between the generations. We need to teach our children the story of which they are a part of, and we need to trust them to go further than we did when they come to write their own chapter. Yes, yes indeed. Okay, now,
49 days to count the Omer.
today in Jewish history.
After it starts.
Oh, what happened? What happened to my sound? Does this weird thing. All right. Well, we got it under control. It's not a problem. All right. Let me get to my today in Jewish history because I've got so much over here today. All right. In the year 1313 BCE, 2448, the manna, the mun, the bread from heaven, which sustained the children of Israel during their 40 years of wandering through the desert, began to fall today, the 16th day of Iyar, in the year 2448 from creation, 1 month after the Exodus, when their matzah ran out. Today is also the day in the year 70 that the Romans raised the wall in Jerusalem. They laid siege on Jerusalem, greatly weakening its defenders. On the 16th of Iyar, the Romans raised the middle wall of Jerusalem. The city was later burned, its inhabitants massacred, and the temple destroyed on Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av. Today is also the day that the Nuremberg laws were passed. Not a coincidence. The Nazi Nuremberg laws depriving Jews of the rights of citizenship were passed by the government of Nazi Germany in 1935. In 1939, on the same day, the laws went into effect in Nazi-allied Hungary. Today was the day that Dachau, the first Nazi concentration camp and the model for all the other camps, was liberated. During the war, 200,000 Jews were housed in Dachau. More than 30,000 were killed, and tens of thousands died due to the conditions and spread of disease in the camp. The camp was freed, by the 45th Infantry Division of the United States 7th Army on the 16th day of Iyar in 1945. It was the second camp to be liberated following the end of World War II. Now, I don't know which camp my father was involved in liberating. I'm going to have to check that out. The U.S. troops forced the citizens of the local community to come to the camp, observe the conditions, and help clean the conditions, the facilities there. Wow. Heavy-duty stuff, right? We haven't spoken about this in a while.
Some things always need to be accessible. The things that are important to us, like coffee for instance. And that's why you'll find a vendor practically wherever you turn. And the Tefillin Stop movement is accomplishing just that. For Tefillin, imagine walking down the street, seeing this sign, and conveniently entering the store to find a Mahuder set of Tefillin waiting just for you. The Tefillin Stop initiative is happening, and it's gaining momentum faster than we could ever have imagined.
If you are a store owner and you'd like to become a member of Tefillin Stop, it's very, very simple. Just go to the website at tefillinstop.org and sign up today. HaYom Yom for today, the 16th day of Iyar. Moments away from Lag BaOmer. Here's HaYom Yom.
It's common wisdom amongst observant Jews that Hashem is more happy, much more happy, with those who spend more time in shul than with those who spend less. The Hasidic perspective is altogether different. As a matter of fact, this idea is turned on its head. Today's HaYom Yom is about a fellow by the name of Rabbi Eliyahu Abeler. Now, Eliyahu was a simple man, not particularly learned, and once he had an encounter with a Yechidus encounter with the fourth Rebbe of Chabad, the Rebbe Maharash. The Rebbe Maharash said these words to him, Eliyahu, I envy you. The great Hasidic master, the Rebbe Maharash, says to this simple man that he is envious of him. You travel to fairs, you meet many people, and at these fairs, while in business, you have the opportunity to make mention of an idea from the Torah, and you can encourage people to study Torah. This business, this spiritual business of bringing Hashem into the workspace causes tremendous joy on high. And it's also a lucrative business, this spiritual business, because when you introduce Hashem during business transactions, Hashem rewards this type of work handsomely with children, health, and livelihood. And the bigger the marketplace, the more potential for this type of special spiritual work. So from the Hasidic perspective, Hashem's happiness cannot be quantified just by how many hours you spend in study and prayer. But Hashem's happiness is measured by where your passion lies. If you can bring the holiness of the Torah out to the great big world outside of shul, you've reached a level of divine happiness that will be the envy of even the greatest scholars.
All right, I love that. And now, breaking news. Okay. Let me get to it. Yes. A hero passenger speaks out on landing a plane with no experience. Darren Harris, 39, joins today's Savannah Guthrie for an exclusive interview speaking out about his heroic act of landing a plane with zero flight experience after his pilot lost consciousness.
It is the story that had you asking your friends this week. Did you hear about the guy who landed the plane? When the pilot of a small aircraft flying over South Florida lost consciousness, putting the plane into a nosedive, one of the passengers on board who had no flight experience jumped into action and calmly landed that plane. Now the heroic passenger, Darren Harrison, is telling his story for the first time to Savannah Guthrie in a Today exclusive. NBC's Sam Brock has our Sunday focus from Palm Beach International Airport, where Harrison stuck that breathtaking landing. Sam, good morning.
Willie, good morning. Last Tuesday, Darren Harrison, who is a man who believes strongly in his faith, landed the airplane here against all practical odds. He had no flying experience, as you mentioned. His plane went off the radar at the worst possible time. Now he's speaking out.
For Darren Harrison, a career in home and business flooring sales arguably should not have prepared him for this.
I've got a serious situation here. My pilot has gone incoherent.
Last week, the pilot flying Harrison and one other passenger back from a fishing trip in the Bahamas experienced a medical emergency and passed out. So the 39-year-old stepped up, helping move the pilot over and grabbing the controls with zero experience flying an aircraft. The burning question as he speaks exclusively with Savannah, how did this go off without a hitch?
Everyone's been amazed at how calm you were. Did you feel calm?
I did. Somebody asked me the other day what my heart rate was, or what I thought my heart rate was when all that was going on, and I said, it was probably in the 90s. And they said, well, what about after it was all over? I said, it was probably about 160. About the time I stopped the plane, that's when it hit me. Yeah, I was pretty calm and collected the whole time because I knew it was a life or death situation. Either you do what you have to do to control the situation or you're going to die. And that's what I did.
There's no time to panic.
No, none.
Harrison says he had no choice. The husband and father-to-be, who's expecting a child with his wife Brittany this summer, had everything to live for. And his faith, he says, guided him through an ordeal that could have easily turned fatal. Air traffic controller Robert Morgan showing our Kerry Sanders what Harrison had to do just to access the controls.
They had to get on the controls and pull back the plane so that it would climb up out of the dive that it was in.
Then the plane disappeared from the airport's radar, and 10 seconds later,
he said, I'm on the ground. What do you want me to do now?
Did you say the passengers landed the airplane? That's correct. Oh my gosh, yeah, no, great job.
Harrison also telling Savannah he previously, Willie, had nightmares over this exact scenario, a pilot becoming incapacitated midair. Willie?
Just amazing. And you can hear on the air traffic communication how calm he was throughout that ordeal and stuck the landing. Sam, thank you very much. You can watch Savannah's full exclusive interview with Darren Harrison tomorrow on Today.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories. Shop.
That's pretty crazy stuff. All right. Today, the New York City Health Commissioner issued an advisory as the city approaches the high COVID-19 alert level. High, not medium. All New Yorkers should wear masks in indoor public settings, he said. Those at high risk of severe illness should avoid crowded settings and limit get-togethers. All right? That is from the New York City Health Commissioner, Ashwin Vasan. Regardless of vaccination status or past COVID-19 infection, everyone should be wearing face coverings at all times in settings such as grocery stores, offices, and building lobbies. I know, right? A pedestrian bridge that is the longest such pedestrian bridge in the world has opened in a mountain resort in the Czech Republic. The 721 meter long bridge, that's 2,365 feet, is built at an altitude of more than 1,100 meters, that's 3,610 feet, a mile above sea level. It connects two ridges of the mountain and hangs up to 95 meters above the valley below. 95 meters is 312 feet. Crazy stuff, right? Are you going to go on that? Not me. The CDC yesterday updated its guidance for people traveling within the U.S. The agency now urges all domestic travelers to consider getting tested close to the time of departure as possible, no more than 3 days before your trip. They also moved 4 destinations to the high COVID risk category for travelers. So you know what, boys and girls and others? Caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. All right, and now a word from our sponsors.
And now, word from our sponsors. PestProRidol.com.
PestProRidol.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidol.com.
Tarzane Group. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565. And order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign@gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Siva Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva Lanu Moshe.
All right. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors. Become a Patreon sponsor. Go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar if you are a frequent listener and you would like to help us out, making sure that we can keep this broadcast going, helping us defray some of our expenses. All right? High quality stuff over here. Internet is not free, especially the highest level of internet, so I can broadcast uninterrupted. I don't know if you were an early watcher of this broadcast, but if you were, you'll know that we had all kinds of internet problems until we upgraded. All right? The Parsha, Behar, the mountain, referring to Mount Sinai. And we asked the question, excuse me, Mount Sinai was the most intense divine revelation. How is it that this mountain was chosen? Because of its humbleness, all right? Because the depths to which a human being can sink in defiance of Hashem's law is in sharp contrast to the sublime images invoked by Mount Sinai. Well, the answer to this conundrum, of course, is that this contrast is intentional. The striking reference to Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, that constitutes the beginning and the name of this Parsha is meant to inspire us and instruct us on how to overcome the darkness of a world that encourages and promotes skepticism and skeptical notions. Hold on, sorry. I'm just going to make sure this thing is doing its thing over here. Yes, it is. Okay, good. Sorry. How to instruct us on how to overcome the darkness of a world that encourages and promotes the skeptical notions and degenerate materialism, which is detailed in the rest of the Parsha. On our own, we are indeed incapable of elevating our environment, since we are stuck within it, functioning as part of it. Nature follows the immutable laws of cause and effect, of biological, psychological, sociological determinism, and every aspect of our lives is subject to these laws. As such, we are prisoners within nature, and, in our sage's words, a prisoner can't free himself from his own imprisonment. Only a force from without can release someone who is locked within. It is the Torah, our link to Hashem's transcendent infinite will, that endows us with the ability to overcome the limitations of nature and the natural mentalities of our environment. The spiritual bond that we forge with Hashem through studying Torah and observing its mitzvos affords us the transcendent strength necessary to break out of the downward cycle of spiritual degeneration. And that is why Parshas Behar begins and opens with an allusion to the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. Yet, it's not enough to possess its inner strength. We have to be able to channel it into our lives in order to make use of it. In order to channel divine strength, we have to be selfless, transparent, and devoid of any desire for self-aggrandizement. This ability, too, we draw from the fact that Hashem gave the Torah on Mount Sinai. And we'll continue this tomorrow, God willing. In the third Aliyah, the Torah addresses an obvious concern. What will we eat in the seventh year if we don't sow and gather our grain? We're talking about the Shemitah, the resting of the land. Hashem reassures us that he will bless the 6th year's harvest and it'll produce enough to provide for 3 years until the crop of the 8th year is ready to eat. The Torah then gives the rationale for the prohibition against selling the land for perpetuity. Instead, land can only be leased until Yovel, the Jubilee year, the 50th year. Why? Because the land belongs to me, and you are strangers and residents with me. Cool, huh? All right. Shnayim Yomi.
Shlishi, Parshas Behar. One of the more famous psukim in the Torah, where a person questions, a person questions, what am I going to eat in the 7th year? We didn't plant. We didn't gather in our tfuah, so how are we going to survive? So Hashem promises that you're going to be blessed that in the 6th year of Asas Satfuah, you'll be blessed with 3 years worth of produce in the 6th year, that you'll be able to survive the 7th year and the 8th year. Rashi points out an interesting point. Sometimes you could even have 4 years, because what happens if you have a yovel right after a Shemitah? Sometimes you can have a Shemitah, the 7th year is Shemitah, and sometimes it'll come out that yovel will be the year right after, and then you'll have to have 4 years worth of Tuah in the 6th year. So Rashi points out that, of course, that's also Hashem is promising that to you, that if a person will keep Shemitah, if he's able to keep Shemitah properly, so then Hashem promises that you'll be able to get whatever you need, you'll get in the 6th year. And then va'aretz leisimachal misos kiliya aretz higer misleishavim atam imadi. So we know that when you sell a field, the pasuk tells us that it's not a sell. You don't sell it forever. It's only till Shemitah or till Yovel, and then the land goes back.
V'chol eretz achuzaschem gulu titna la'aretz. In all of the eretz achuzaschem, whenever you sell a stay achuza, so automatically it goes back during Shemitah or Yovel, because the land does not belong to you. Again, the same lesson of Shemitah, the same way that Hashem's teaching us that the land does not belong to us, and therefore we have to follow what Hashem says in order for the land to produce. So too, when a person sells his karka, he will get it back at the end of Shemitah or at the end of Yovel. All the lands return to the proper owner, to the original owner, because the land really, Hashem says, does not belong to you, really belongs to Hashem, and therefore it goes back to the original owner of the stay, Achuza.
All right, and now let's hear from Avi Feldman, Rabbi Avi Feldman, please excuse me, Chabad of Iceland.
Hebrew is a very unique language. There could be multiple words that are seemingly not related, but share the same root. If you search hard enough, then you could find a connection between these words, which would explain why they share the same root. The great commentator Rashi says all Jews are guarantors one for another. Now the Hebrew word for guarantor, ariv, could also mean two other things. Ariv could mean mixed, and it could also mean sweet. Now these three words are seemingly unrelated, but in fact there is a deep connection between them. Guarantor, mixed, and sweet. Why are Jews guarantors and responsible for one another? It's because we're mixed with each other and we're integrated with each other. So like many different body parts, Jewish people are all so different, but in the end, we're all parts of the same body. And pain in one part of the body has an effect and is felt in the entire body. Last week, the Jewish people suffered an unfathomable tragedy with the loss of 45 precious lives. Exile, discussed in this week's Torah portion, is painful and challenging. Times could be tough. We don't understand. But within the suffering and the pain, we could search for some sweetness. It's especially during these times that we realize how connected and how integrated we all are. We're responsible for each other because we really are one body and one soul. This is the sweetness that could be found in difficult times. But we've gone through enough as a people. It's time that we could enjoy and appreciate the connection that we all share, the responsibility that we all share in good times as well.
Yep, very, very cool. And I think we have time for one more today. How about Rabbi Wise, moment of wisdom?
This week's Sedra is the Sedra of Behar. And I want to point out to one little mitzvah, one little prohibition which is mentioned in this Torah, in this week's Sedra, that has been the bane of Jewish life throughout history, but is also forbidden in certain categories between Jews, and that is the law of usury, of ribbit, of money lending and taking interest for your money lending. And the question is, why is the taking of interest, why is living off interest, loaning money and receiving interest for that money, why is it looked down upon so much? The Ktav Sofer says, a person has to live a productive life. A person has to work. If a person isn't involved in employment, in doing things, then he becomes empty. He doesn't contribute to society. nowadays, there's a great problem of people who retire. They think they wish to retire early, and then they have a great emptiness and void in their lives. A person who can study should learn Torah. But the message of this is even earlier on his life. Don't make your parnassah, your way of life, by not doing positive acts. The positive acts of work, of employment, of studying, of doing things helps you through life and makes your life meaningful. The ribbit, living just on your earnings without being positively involved in activity, can be very soul-destroying and mind-destroying. Shabbat Shalom.
Moment of Wisdom. Sub-brief and life-changing moments. Join us. Subscribe to Moment of Wisdom channels on YouTube, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
All right. Fantastic. And now we shall move on to Pirkei Avos. We are learning chapter 4 for the coming week. Chapter 4, here's Rabbi Martyr.
Boker Tov, good morning. We continue with our 3-minute daily dose of Torah. We studied yesterday a Mishnah of Ben Azai, and we have another one that follows. And we do so as Rav Kahati wants us to think of it in the context and the framework of the disagreement between Rabbi Akiva and Ben Azai, who was a student, a late student, and sort of a Talmid Chaver, a colleague as well. There was a dispute between them about what's the most important principle in the Torah. Rabbi Akiva says, "Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha," love your neighbor as yourself, which sets a requirement that we be good to everybody, right? We be loving to everybody. But that requirement, as the theory goes in this framing, is that you use yourself as a good barometer, and if you would want something done for you, that's what you do to somebody else. If you wouldn't want something done for you, don't do somebody else. That's something that's familiar to us. And so kamocha, like yourself, you can always, since you're close to yourself, you can always use yourself as that barometer. Rabbi Ben Zoma says, I have a klal gadol mizeh. I have a greater principle, and that is that zeh sefer Torah Adam. This is the book of the generations of man, and that pasuk continues to say, Bidmut Elokim asa oto, that in the image of God, God made the human being. That a human being, that everyone is an image of God. And the framework then is that it's not myself that becomes the barometer. How would I want to see myself? But what do I see in that person? And that is godly. And the answer is everyone has that godly that we encounter in a given day or a given point in our lives. And so he teaches, Huaya Omer, Al tihi vaz l'chol adam, va'al tihi maflig l'chol davar. Don't you be disparaging of anybody, and don't you be dismissive of anything. She'en lecha adam, she'en lo sha'a, ve'en lecha davar, she'en lo makom. There is no one who won't have his hour, and there's no thing that doesn't have its place. Is that, everyone has a 15 minutes of fame and then peters out? That's not the idea of everyone has his hour. But everyone has a purpose in this world. He's meant to make a difference. So don't you be dismissive of anyone to think that they don't matter. Everyone matters. You matter, and I matter, and everyone deserves, therefore, the honor and respect that we're meant to show. Show a little respect for others and yourself today. Have a great day.
Put a little love in your heart. That's what came to mind when I said that. All right, Tehillim. All right, we are doing chapter 121 for the Lubavitcher Rebbe for his 120th year of birth. Let's say it together.
Shir lamalos esa enai el heharim me'ayin yavo Ezri Ezri me'im Adonai osei shomayim v'aretz hayitein lamot raglecha hayanum shomrecha hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomerecha Adonai tzilecha al yad yeminecha Yomam Hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach baloila Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra yishmor es nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzeisecha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam.
All right. Big time we are doing Tanya for today, the 16th day of Iyar. Here's Rabbi Romney Fine.
Thank you for joining Tanya in 5. Today's lesson for the 16th of Iyar. We continue in chapter 48. Chapter 48, in one word, is Ligdulasai, God's greatness. God's greatness, Ein Sof, is limitless. Hence, in order that there should be a finite existence, God needs to, as it were, contract, mitzamtzim, on himself, in order that there should be a physical, finite existence. How do we understand this? Contraction is that there is a limited, very infinitesimal light that is enclosed within this world, and at the same time there is a light of God that is encircling, that is an infinite light of God himself. Let's illustrate this point. Let's consider the material world. When we speak about God, it does say in the verse that the whole world is full of his glory. Meaning the Ein Sof, as it is written, do I not fill heaven and earth? In other words, I meaning the Ein Sof, referring to the limitlessness of God. So we say that he is found within. Nevertheless, it's only a very small vitality of sort of the category of inanimate and vegetable worlds that is clothed within this limited world in a revealed manner, that is, we are influenced by in a revealed manner. When we say in the manner of inanimate and vegetable worlds, we're just giving that by way of a metaphor, because that is a reduced form of vitality. So that is the ray of light that we can, it's a revealed influence, therefore we can have some kind of comprehension and understanding of that divine light. While all the light of the Ein Sof, which is the limitless light of God, which is called encompassing, even though it actually pervades the world. In other words, you can't say that God's light is not able to be here. It is here. When we speak about the Ein Sof, the limitlessness of God, God's light, the Or Ein Sof, the Soviv Kol Almin, it encircles, but it means that its influence is not revealed within the world, but it is actively within the world in a hidden and concealed manner. And this is the idea of what it means encircling from above. And that's why it is coming from a higher world, a higher plane, than the revealed world. The hidden world is a much higher plane. Now, let's make this a little more intelligible. Let's take an example. When a man forms an image in his mind of something, I have the image of this in my mind right now. This is a clock, and I am seeing this clock, or if I close my eyes, I have the image in my mind. Now, although I have the image of the entire body and the essence of the thing, both the exterior of it, the interior of it, I have the image of it in my mind. It's completely mirrored there in my thoughts. So it's in my mind, as it were, but yet the expression that we would use is that my mind is encompassing the object completely, even though it is, even though it's within my mind, within the image of my mind at least, it's the term that we would use is encompassing. Now, but in fact, it's not encompassing in actual fact. It's only encompassing the image of this, because this is not in my mind. It's only the image of this that is now in my thoughts and in my mind. God, on the other hand, the Ein Sof of Hashem, his thoughts are not like our thoughts, where my thought can only have the image of this. I can't have the physical thing in my mind. But by God, when we say that it's encompassed all of creation within his mind, within him, it means the actual clock, the actual world, and the actually everything is encompassed within his mind, as it were. An actual fact, as opposed to by the human being, it's only the image of it. And with this we can understand that, again, that God, he himself, the Ein Sof, pervades the world, but yet the term that we use is encompassing, because the effect that it has upon us is beyond us, that we would be able to contain and maintain, but yet it is an influence that is there in a concealed manner. And that is Tanya in 5. Thank you for joining.
I'll be right there. I got caught up in something. All right, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. All right, moving on to the holiday.
Hashem gave us a present. Do you know what it was? He gave us the Torah, and we must keep its laws. He asked the other nations, do you want this gift of mine? But they said no thank you, for Torah we've no time.
All right.
Then to B'nai Yisrael.
Today about Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer, which is approaching super, super quick. As a matter of fact, it is tomorrow night, Lag BaOmer. 6 customs for the 33rd day of the Omer that you should know. It's a festive day on the Jewish calendar, commemorating the anniversary of the passing of the great sage and mystic Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar. Now, you may ask, why do we celebrate on the anniversary of a death? Lag BaOmer marks the passing, as we said, of Shimon Bar Yochai, who lived in the 2nd century. He was the first to publicly teach the mystical dimensions of Judaism and is the author of the Zohar, the classic work of Kabbalah. On the day of his passing, he instructed his disciples to mark the date as Yom Simchasi, the day of my joy. Now, the codifiers of Jewish law marked the anniversary of someone's passing, known as a yahrzeit, as a day of introspection and seriousness, when close relatives of the deceased refrained from weddings, fasting. They do fast, rather. Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, in his abridged code of Jewish law, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, sums it up this way. It's a time to be inspired to return to Hashem, to look at one's deeds, and to make a change in one's life. Through the souls of one's departed, the souls of one's departed will have merit in the world above. Now, the same would apply to the yahrzeit of a tzaddik, a righteous person, such as Moses' passing, which is marked by many as a fast day and a day of introspection. Now, the Kabbalists explain that the day of a person's passing is a time when the soul is once again judged and their merits calculated, and the soul is elevated to a more higher spiritual level in heaven. Therefore, it's become a custom to do mitzvah, good deeds, and learn texts, Judaic texts, to bring merit and spiritual pleasure to the deceased person's soul. Now, in Hasidic circles, our custom is not to be overtly depressed or saddened on the day of the passing. Rather, the day is marked in a more positive and pleasant manner by remembering and learning from the individual's life and good deeds. Now, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did specifically ask his followers to be joyous on his yahrzeit. And the rule is that when someone asks, we have to listen to their request. Therefore, It is not only permitted, but a mitzvah to be joyous and celebrate on this day. On the day of a person's passing, their entire life work, good deeds, and teachings ascend to higher spiritual realms. It's a time when one's soul reconnects to higher levels of godliness, the source of life. The wish of the great sage Rabbi Shimon is adhered to. Now, the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains that this is the reason he asked for this day to be remembered as a joyous day, to mark the elevation of his soul to a higher spiritual level. So now you understand why. Here is Sparks about Lag BaOmer. George, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov.
Besides, for the Gemara and the story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai regarding he and his son leaving the caves, and the story that revolved around Lag BaOmer itself, perhaps Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is most famous for in the Shas. One of his most famous machlokes in Gemara Brachas Tav Lamed Ham days between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai regarding a person and how he's supposed to live his life. Rabbi Shmuel says a person is supposed to work most of the year. Months of Tishrei and Nisan you sit and learn, but the rest of the year you're supposed to work and learn when you have time. And that's the lifestyle. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says a person is supposed to learn Torah. Torah is day you learn Torah, and you only work at the absolute minimum, the absolute least needed. Everything else is learning Torah. The Gemara says there that many did like Rabbi Shmuel and they were successful, and many did like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and they weren't successful. Some conclude, seemingly halacha, that halacha like Rabbi Shmuel, a person is supposed to live his life that way, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is incorrect. But others learn as follows, and I think this is the more mistaber, the more logical pshat, and I think it's a very powerful pshat that connects to Lag BaOmer. Rabbi Shmuel's lifestyle is the lifestyle for most people, because most people, they're not refined and don't have the midas and don't have the ruchnias and the spiritual preparation to live the ideal lifestyle. But of course, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's lifestyle is the ideal lifestyle. The Gemara says, Harba Asuk Rabbi Shmuel also, and many like Rabbi Shmuel were successful because that's a lifestyle that most people can live. Harba Asuk Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai also, and many like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai were not successful because it's not a lifestyle that most people are prepared to live. But it's the ideal. It is what you should be doing. Everybody, idealistically, in a perfect world, their midas were correct, and their spirituality was holistically, their whole ruchnius was on a madrega. That would be the optimal. Then, of course, they should live like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's lifestyle. So, come Lag BaOmer, we celebrate the man of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I think one of the things that we're celebrating is the man who brought the Zohar down to the world. He brought down the hidden Torah. I think we're celebrating the inner part of each and every one of us. The Sefer, the hidden Torah in each one of us has the potential to burst forth, steig, and has the potential to grow to our heights that we've never seen. However, also, many of us are going to try and we're not going to be successful. It doesn't mean we shouldn't try, and it doesn't mean that at least one day a year, Lag BaOmer, a Heilig Ketag, we should at least try to tap into that Heilig Kedusha, to the inner godless within each of us, and try to access the Eish HaTorah, the fire of Torah from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Have a wonderful, wonderful Lag BaOmer.
All right. Fantastic. We will do more about Lag BaOmer tomorrow, God willing, since Lag BaOmer is tomorrow night. All right. Sefer HaMitzvahs of the Rambam. Check something really, really quick. Nope. All right. All right, today there are a whole bunch of mitzvahs. We are so close to the end of the whole Rambam. We are learning 6 mitzvahs. Negative mitzvah number 46, that we should not go back to Egypt to live there, so that we don't end up living like the Egyptians. We're allowed to go there for business or to pass through. Now, positive mitzvah 190, the mitzvah of what to do when fighting with a country in a war that's not a mitzvah. We should first try to make peace with them, and then follow the rules that Torah gives us of what to do if they make peace and what to do if not. These halachas are explained in detail in the Gemara Sanhedrin and the Gemara Sota, which we are learning right now. Negative mitzvah number 56, with the nations of Ammon and Moab, we don't ask them first if they want to make peace. We just automatically go to war with them if they demand war. Negative mitzvah number 57, we do not cut down fruit trees for no good reason when having a war. This includes any kind of baltashchis, any kind of waste, like destroying clothes or vessels for no reason. Positive mitzvah 192, there should be a place outside the army camp for soldiers to use as a bathroom, so the place where they're camping stays pure. And mitzvah number 6, positive mitzvah number 193, every soldier should have a shovel together with their weapons in case he needs to go to the bathroom where there isn't a bathroom around. That way he can dig a hole to use and then cover it up. Torah provides for absolutely everything. It is very true. All right, matters of Mashiach. All right. Wow, this is really exciting. We are about to do the Siyum HaRambam. I'm very excited about that. All right, the 16th of Iyar. Hashem is destined to make a feast for the righteous. After they eat and drink, they will pass Avram the cup of blessing to honor him with leading Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals. He'll refuse because Ishmael came from me. Yitzchak will refuse because of Esav, and Yaakov will refuse because he married two sisters, which was later prohibited by the Torah. Moshe will refuse because he didn't enter the land of Israel. Yeshua will refuse because he had no son. David HaMelech will accept, saying, if it is fitting for me, it is fitting for me to lead the Birkat Hamazon, as it says, Kos Yeshuas Eso V'Shem Hashem Ekra. I will raise a cup of salvation and call in the name of Hashem. When we eat a meal, we elevate the sparks of holiness that are mixed into the world as a result of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When Mashiach comes, our feast will be pure godliness from the Eitz Chaim, tree of life. At that time, each righteous person will feel somewhat inadequate because their divine service was based upon their intrinsic nature and character. This form of service has an element of self-consciousness that comes from the Eitz Hadas, the tree of knowledge. For that reason, David, whose service exemplified selflessness and simple obedience, will be the one leading the blessing. That is so cool.
We mentioned yesterday that the laws that we're learning nowadays are called the laws of kings and the wars which they fight.
I must be a soup kitchen and food pantry available by texting your food 726-879. You can get 7 days worth 7 days worth of pantry food and hot meals every single day. In Rockland County, it's tomcheshabbos.org, tomcheshabbos.org, and in Chicago, it's the Chicago Center Kitchen at breakfastwithelli.live/Chicago Food Bank. Achi Ezer is available for you for all your other needs. They are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The Hatzalathon is nearing their goal. Can you help?
Over $14 million raised by communities around the world. Day in history when Klal Yisrael got together to support each other.
Welcome to the second annual Hatzalathon.
168,000. Lower East Side Hatzalah, 177,000.
All right, Hatzalah. All right, as I'm sure you're well aware. Hatzalah is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Any of these phone numbers, or go to hatzalah.org. If you are, God forbid, the victim of a hate crime or see a hate crime in progress, please call 911 immediately, and then text the word hate to 81336. Hatzalah and hate crimes can be called even on Shabbos and even on Yom Tov. All right? In times of bereavement, misaskim.org, 718-854-4548. They can help you no matter where you are. It's a New York number, but they can help you arrange things wherever you may be. And please, boys and girls, follow the Panda Bear's advice and wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Is this really much to ask?
All right. New York City has now recommended that everybody be wearing masks indoors and in crowded places. We are at a medium level, approaching the high level, so you need to be careful out there. And please, please, please get your vaccinations. You heard it here from Rabbi Elli. Get your vaccinations. Vaccinations help. We've got over a year of proof that the vaccinations help. Yes, people are still getting breakthrough infections, and I'm seeing Stephen Colbert just got diagnosed with COVID, and people are, the booster shots. Yeah, that's why he's not in the hospital dying, because he got a vaccination, he got his booster shots. So please, be smart, okay? Be smart. That's all I can tell you. All right, our kindness a day. After reading the newspaper on your way to work, offer it to the person sitting next to you on the bus or the train. Better yet, learn some Torah and offer to learn with them while you're on the ride. Like that even better. All right. The first stage in a person's spiritual decline, God forbid, is a lack of effort when serving Hashem in tefillah, prayer. Everything comes dry and cold. Even the routine performance of mitzvahs becomes burdensome because everything is rushed. You lose the same sense of pleasure in Torah study. The atmosphere itself becomes crass. Needless to say, one is totally incapable of influencing others. But don't let that happen to you. Always keep your learning fresh, all right? Bringing heaven down to earth. When Hashem makes a miracle, it is so that afterwards we can look at the natural order of things and say, I recognize this. This isn't what it appears to be. That, too, is considered a nace, a miracle. Want to discuss it more? Come to me in any of the Actors Rabbis groups at WhatsApp, Twitter, Spaces, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, LinkedIn, Racket, Clubhouse, or at theactorsrabbi.com. Just look for the Actors Rabbi on any of these platforms. And while you're at theactorsrabbi.com, please, if you need to, take advantage of the life coaching services that are offered there on a sliding scale to fit your budget. All right, let's say an afterbrach.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesronan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos boem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim.
Well, thank you so much for being here and watching and listening. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors, Pest Pro Ridal, Tarzane Orchid, Dina D Design, Sarah Elisheva Ashira, Dr. Susan Smith, Racha Biederman, and everyone else. Become a sponsor by going to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or to our virtual tip jar at breakfastwithelli.live/tip jar and help us defray our costs a little bit. Not asking for much. Just, we got to pay internet and we got to pay the broadcast fees over here and a couple other things we do. And as you know, we broadcast to 11 platforms now, 11 different platforms simultaneously, including 2 on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We are now broadcasting, live streaming on Telegram as well. And so, yeah, lots of places, lots of places. All right. Greenhouse and Green Room and Clubhouse and Twitter, lots and lots of different things. Okay. Ut. We have a beautiful a cappella piece for you today from Avram Fried. It's an a cappella version of one of his beautiful nigunim that he did before. All right. Yom She'Kuvay Ki Tov, it's the day that Hashem said twice, it is good. Thank you for being here. Come back tomorrow. Go out and do something good and something nice for someone today. In the words of Rabbi Isaac Hamler, have affection for a fellow. Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow. Hashem will have a kindness for you. Befriend a fellow, and Hashem will befriend you. It's a glorious day outside. It is 69 degrees, clear skies. The movers are coming to bring my stuff up from Florida to our new home, and I'm excited. I'll have some pictures for you tomorrow, okay? All right, have a great day. Bring someone to watch or listen with you tomorrow, and here's Avram Fried. Have a great day.
I must say Timeloich. I must say Timeloich. Busy Yashu in Izebuyo, Tatio, Vesimle Halaini be on my neo, Tatio. I must say Timeloich. I must say Timeloich. They said the blue is blue is yo, Tatio, Vesimle Halaini be on my neo, Tatio. 1, 2, 3, 4. Loi, alle dem Malach, loi, alle dem Shliach, loi, Raki levadoi. Loi, alle dem Malach, loi, alle dem Shliach, loi, Raki levadoi.